You know, even though I enjoyed Legion, the story aside from its disastrous pacing suffered two major problems. Firstly, it failed to sustain the credibility of the Burning Legion following the Nighthold. After Kil'jaeden died, they practically became fucking useless antagonists, whilst the Deceiver was just dumbed down to being another hopeless idiot on some spaceship. Secondly, it failed to re-establish a multifaceted character like Illidan by sort of just assuming that he's good now, just because the Illidari are, and a book says so. He no longer fears Kil'jaeden's wrath and has a personality so bland it can be summed up in this one scene.
Every choice, every sacrifice has led me to this.
Ah, fuck off. Not only did this payoff seem forced because it lacked the components to have a cohesive story, but to me, Blizzard failed to deliver by not giving Illidan any meaningful motivations, character flaws, and a chance to prove that he's changed. Without any strategy, planning, or objectives, Illidan just seems to get everything right. And the writers always seem to shoehorn the fact that he's got some trick up his sleeve 90% of the time. Well, what's so bad about that, you may ask? Well, it takes away the point in actually having any characters except Illidan, considering he's spearheading everything. Not to mention that he's practically fucking invincible now, with the ability to kill anything which pisses him off. Oh, and apparently he's best friends with Velen now, who doesn't seem to give a shit about or how Illidan chooses to obliterate a fucking Naru in front of everyone. By not giving Illidan any believable obstacles or consequences for his impulsive actions, we're given a bland, one-dimensional anti-hero with no personality. But don't worry, they're all unified by one goal, and that's to see the Burning Legion destroyed.
Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
And that's pretty much Legion in a nutshell. So let's talk about the story, which picks up in the Vault of the Wardens, where alternate Gul'dan and clueless Cortana have a little problem to solve, as apparently decimating the armies of Azeroth outside the Tomb of Sargeras wasn't enough. And lo and behold, Illidan's Storm Rage happens to be the key to Azeroth's destruction. Sargeras needs a vessel, you see, and rather than using his stronger, more powerful avatar locked in the, I don't know, Tomb of Sargeras, which they already control, they instead choose to abduct Illidan's body, which subsequently results in all the Illidari being freed and turning against them, which conveniently gives them the excuse to join the Alliance and Horde. Wow, what a fucking great plan that was, Burning Legion. Finally, after chasing after Illidan's soul for an arduous amount of time, it turns out that we completely wasted our time anyways, because Khadgar's spell fails when it matters the most, and Sargeras channels into Illidan's body. But don't worry, we're just in the nick of time to save the day and prove that Sargeras is weak as fuck. And in a matter of seconds, he's dead, but Illidan has returned. Good fucking god, what genius writing was that? On a more positive note, I think the sheer exceptional combination of cinematic quality and Illidan's presence is enough to win fans over. And for good reason. They're pretty fucking amazing. Which leads me to his resurrection. I can't really understand the way the writers didn't bother to develop how a life-altering event as significant as being killed at the Black Temple didn't seem to have any form of consequence or inflicted trauma. Nope, don't worry, Illidan's apparently fucking fine after all that shit. They instead backed Illidan into a corner, removed his flaws, and gave him no obstacles, giving us a shallow character with an even shallower purpose. The writers then tried to justify every questionable deed Illidan had committed as being acts of sacrifice in service to Azeroth, all because of one thing that Cenarius told him 10,000 years ago, conveniently.
Walk this path requires sacrifice, Illidan. Something I have yet to understand.
Which leaves you wondering, what the fuck has he sacrificed, and why does he perpetually brag about it? If Illidan was given a choice such as gaining more power to defeat Kil'jaeden, or to save a bunch of dying druids. It would clearly establish how other characters would perceive him going forward. But in actuality, Legion doesn't give his character any choices. Except Zera, who basically forces Illidan to turn to the light, which is pretty much the antithesis of the arcane, and how Illidan willingly sought out his powers in the first place. So I don't see how Illidan becoming a manifestation of the light is really a believable choice.
The prophecy must be fulfilled.
Funnily enough, just when I think about it, Illidan the Resurrected has pretty much become a catalyst for everything which has become a trope in Warcraft's shitty, divisive storytelling. He's overpowered, unlikable, absolved by some sort of nebulous master plan. When you have a character with a nickname as deliberate as the Betrayer, who notoriously said things like this:
Lordship over this world was never my aim. Only power.
then is now framed like this.
The hunter is nothing without the hunt.
It's a bit of a coincidence that a character whose mistakes have been about lusting for power is now guarding one of the most universally corrupt and powerful beings. And nobody seemingly gives a shit. This is why I hate Blizzard bringing back dead, iconic anti-villains and somehow predicating them as misguided heroes. It completely shits on the themes and the meanings told in the original story, which leads me to Warcraft 3.
Illidan, I was merely set back. I was attempting to bolster my forces. The Lich King will be destroyed.
I think the main issue with Illidan the Resurrected is how writers failed to capture what made Illidan a sympathizable, nuanced character in the first place. He was jealous and filled with hatred, feeling betrayed by his own people, but his constant desire to be perceived differently and achieve greatness only made matters worse for himself. It's no wonder he was an outcast, as he often chose rash, impulsive decisions, rarely having a regard for others or the long-term consequences. From the get-go, the players see that Illidan's intentions were never evil, but his exaggerated sense of victimization and unwillingness to rectify his insatiable thirst for magic not only led him down a dark path, but made him vulnerable. For all we know, Kil'jaeden could have been deceiving Illidan for the Skull of Gul'dan and its importance, considering it wasn't even contemplated or mentioned in Legion.
But by consuming the Skull of Gul'dan, you sealed our defeat in this world.
But the more Illidan's story unfolds, the more it becomes clear how fearful and degraded he has become. It's only symbolic that he becomes lord of a broken world, as Illidan never rectified his addiction for magic, nor did he seek to ameliorate his actions with accountability. To me, his story basically runs off the theme that making a deal with the devil ultimately leads to an everlasting fear of paying the price. Hence, in the Burning Crusade, he's practically a broken fucking tyrant. But I suppose that's the moral of the video for Blizzard. When you piss on stories and characters by retelling them for no other reason than they're iconic, fans are quickly going to realize how much of a cheap shit show your storytelling has become. Anyways, peace out.